the Linux distro community, distrowatch.com, and Spatry's Cup of Linux presents the Linux Zoo Crew. If you would like to catch some of my back episodes, listen to this show live as it's being recorded, or subscribe to my RSS feed, please point your web browser to youtube.com/user/LinuxSpatry. In the podcast section, you will find information attached to each Zoo Crew episode in the show notes. We would like to thank DistroWatch for mirroring the Zoo Crew podcast. DistroWatch, your one-stop solution for distributions and information. Visit distrowatch.com and give them your support. All right, welcome to yet another fabulous Linux Zoo Crew, and today on the Zoo, it is the attack of the YouTube show hosts. We have LectroLinux, we have QUIDSUP joining us, and we have a special guest, Alan Pope, the senior engineer at Canonical. I can't remember. I remember it was a senior software engineer, I believe.
Engineering manager.
Engineering manager. I knew it was something like that. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to slip up there.
It's fun.
All right, and we're going to have a nice little discussion on Ubuntu and the long-time support release that they've had out. But before we have our discussion, I'd like to share a few words with you from our founder, Voltam.
Hi, I'm Voltam, founder of the Linux distro community. The Linux distro community is a place for people to hang out and discuss Linux, Linux distros, software, and open source. The Linux distro community is a community funded by its members for its members. We are a friendly, welcoming community that encourages people who use Linux operating systems and software to share their passion and knowledge with other people. We believe that when people share information freely, everyone benefits. We'd love to see you become a part of the Linux distro community. You can voice chat with us on Mumble or text chat with us in IRC. Head over to linuxdistrocommunity.com for details. Join in today in the sharing of knowledge and the freedom that a Linux operating system gives people. Thank you.
Okay, I have a special announcement for all of you out there. For those of you who have been following Spatry's Cup of Linux, and you notice that I do these bootcamp series from time to time on distributions. Well, in celebration of Windows 8 being shipped out next month, at the end of October, and I know a lot of people probably aren't going to care too much for the Windows 8 release, I have decided to do a comprehensive series on Ubuntu. Now, interestingly enough, according to all of my research that I have done, Ubuntu is the number 3 most popular operating system worldwide. Number 1 being Windows, 2 Mac OS X, number 3 Ubuntu. So, and I'm surprised I have never done a comprehensive series on Ubuntu. I think this is something that's going to be well received. And I can remember when Windows Vista came out, and I thought it was absolutely horrible, and I gave Ubuntu a look at the behest of one of my friends. I liked it, but there were a few things that didn't work. And interestingly enough, the Linux kernel has matured as well as Ubuntu, and it's really interesting to see, in just the year and a half alone that I've been using Linux full-time. I got rid of Windows entirely. It's interesting to see all of the growth that has happened, and this is really a remarkable work of human genius here. And Mr. Pope, thank you for joining us today.
That's okay. It's nice to join the rest of the crew.
Yeah, now, you gave me a very interesting challenge earlier this evening. We were speaking. You were mentioning that you would like to see how many of these episodes I can do without using a terminal. I don't know how I'm going to be able to pull that off, because the thing is, when we're trying to attract beginners to the Ubuntu operating system, a lot of people can feel a little intimidated by the terminal, and so pretty much I want to, and it's a sound idea to try to avoid using the terminal as much as possible. But the thing is, I still want to, introduce people to it somewhat.
Well, I think the reason that challenge came about was because I'm mindful of three people I know, friends who run Ubuntu on their machines. One of them is an 8-year-old girl with Ubuntu on a netbook, and she's never touched a command line at all, has no idea that it even exists because she doesn't look after the machine. And another is my mum. She has no idea that the command line exists. And I'm trying to think. Oh, another guy is the father of a friend of mine who I set up Ubuntu for, and he just uses Firefox and Skype and popular desktop applications. He also doesn't know what the command line's for. These people are using Ubuntu, and they will use applications on Ubuntu. They will almost certainly never touch the command line, but what they will get value from is learning, how to use the dash, how to use the lenses, the indicators, how to use LibreOffice and Software Center and Ubuntu One. But I think those particular people who are what I would call normal users are probably going to get the least value out of the command line, whereas people like you and me would get the most value out of it.
But that's the beauty of this, because the thing is, the Ubuntu operating system is very easy for people to use, and that they really don't have to use the terminal if they don't want to. Gone are the days of Linux being difficult for users. You have an installer that's even easier to install than Windows, in my personal opinion. And I mean, I've seen a lot of installers for Linux distributions over the years. And really, with the ubiquity, the way you guys have this set up, it's really easy. I mean, and I also do video tutorials on it too, just to show people how simple it is.
Sure, and I look forward to seeing your new Ubuntu tutorials.
Well, the thing is, it's going to be quite a bit of a learning experience for me, because I've had a chance to review different Ubuntu flavors since I made the complete switch and transition. I've seen a lot of growth and changes and that sort of thing, and this is the best way for me to actually learn, because if I'm sitting down and recording a video and documenting things, it's also a great way for me to remember things. There's an old saying that goes, we keep what we have by giving it away. When we freely share the information and knowledge with other people, everyone benefits, myself included, because, I don't know what it is. Well, my girlfriend says that I suffer from CRS. That means can't remember stuff.
But the thing is that what you've got to remember is Ubuntu and all Linux distros have very low usage in terms of number of desktops installed and laptops. And you guys are right at the beginning of that. And it's going up and it's accelerating, and more people are using Ubuntu and other Linux distros. And you guys are so early on that curve that you've got the opportunity to jump in and make those tutorials. I mean, if you look at Windows and OS X, they're all well established, and there are plenty of places you can get Windows tutorials and OS X tutorials, many of which you have to pay for. But you guys, you and Quids and other people are creating content that could last for a good few years, with an LTS release that's got 5 years support. So it's going to be around for a long time. People like Dell are going to ship an LTS release for years. They're not going to change every 6 months. If you buy a Dell laptop in 2 years' time, I am certain it will be running 1204. And so any tutorial you create today will be almost guaranteed to be applicable in 2 or 3 years' time for Joe user who buys his laptop in the local Walmart or Best Buy, or goes to Dell.com and buys online.
Absolutely. Now, QUIDSUP, your specialty is actually showing people how they can customize Ubuntu and that sort of thing. Tell us a little bit about that, if you please.
Yeah, I've tried sort of expanding more of, or showing more what you can do with Ubuntu. I know the setup you get is very nice, but a lot of people do like customizing their machines, and I'm also trying to show customizing without trying to do the terminal too much. I know I have to for some videos. Certainly the adding extra repositories, I tend to take the lazy method and do the terminal way. I'm going to take on board what Popey said earlier, and I've got to try doing more of the GUI method. I'm showing you in a video, I'm probably just being lazy and using the terminal method. So certainly be looking at some more customizations and looking at more programs you can add on the system. Because that's another thing, you get the system and a lot of people will be sort of content. Maybe they might leave it running there for 6 months, a year, they might be think, oh, actually, what other things can I put on here? And yeah, you can get some of the information there from the Ubuntu Software Center, but I'm also trying to show you in some of these videos.
Yeah, and that is the nice thing. Good point that that Mr. Pope has made. You know, the fact that we are covering an LTS. You know, these videos are going to, you know, last for a few years now. So everybody will be, you know, that information that's going out there. You know, people will be able to find the answers that they're looking for. And the thing is, you know, I'll be honest with you, for a lot of people out there, you know, you'd be surprised, especially in looking at the forums on Ubuntu. And I mean, the forums on Ubuntu are amazing, but there are a number of people that just cannot digest the instructions that people are giving, and they'd much rather sit down and watch a video of somebody actually showing you how to do something. And for some people, that's a better way for them to learn.
Yeah, totally. And my mum's always said that to me. She's not very good at, you know, reading a manual cover to cover. She'd much rather watch someone show her how to do something. And actually, where you know, Quid says something like you said earlier, that it would be good to show the GUI way as well as the terminal way. Well, you only need to show the GUI way once. You know, you only need to show someone how to add a PPA once. And in later videos, you can always say, you know, I showed you in video 10 or episode 10 how to add a PPA. Go back and watch that. And then you get a repeat view of that one. If there's like core things that you need to know how to do, like adding a PPA or adding an indicator or changing the way the launcher looks, you only need to show that once in one core video and then reference back to it in your other videos and link back to it, and then you get repeat views of that as well. So you can certainly reuse stuff and not have to like repeat yourself on every video, that's for sure.
Yeah, that is a plus. And, you know, it's funny that you mentioned that, because I actually refer people over to other videos that I have, like in different series. Because, like for instance, I did a huge thing on Compiz, and this was back when I was running PinGuy OS, and I mean, I did. There were so many parts to this Compiz series. It was huge, and so I would actually refer people over to my old Compiz videos because the same rings true today. That you installed the same things, and pretty much configuring it is pretty much done the same way. There may be one or two little settings that are missing in the later versions and that sort of thing, but the thing is, people can still digest the information. It is available and that sort of thing. But in the Ubuntu series, I'm actually going to be recovering everything that I've done in older series, just to bring everything up to date.
Yeah, and every so often you need to refresh, you know, your content. But the good thing is, with an LTS, you don't have to refresh it quite so often.
Exactly. You wouldn't see me doing a series like this on, let's say, 12.10 that's coming out next. I don't think so. I mean, because a lot of work actually goes into this. And the thing is, I actually sat down and I went on the Ubuntu wiki. I really love how they had everything laid out, and it's really helped me in terms of, you know, taking down notes and covering over a curriculum for the series that I'm working on, and it helped me to pick out, okay, well, what are the key points that people are going to be looking for? Okay, well, let's say you were just mentioning earlier, Mr. Pope, that people may go out to their nearest Best Buy, or they may go to Walmart or something like that, and they may buy an Ubuntu PC. They get it home, and they put in their favorite DVD, and all of a sudden they notice that they can't watch their favorite movie.
You know, if you bought a computer at Best Buy and you couldn't watch a DVD, you'd take it back. You wouldn't go and search on YouTube for a video.
Let me ask you a question now, because we do know that the Ubuntu disks and interestingly enough, you're no longer going to be doing CD-sized disks anymore. You're going to a DVD size. We'll get to that later, but they don't ship with the library to open protected DVDs and that sort of thing, and that, of course, will be a focus of the series that I'm working on. But would a computer that you purchase in the store already have those pre-installed on it?
Yeah, if you buy a computer from Dell, for example, today with Ubuntu pre-installed, it will often come with and DVD playback software like Power DVD or something, in the same way that a Windows computer would. And the reason for that is Dell know their customers, and they know that their customers demand the ability to play DVDs, because it's a pretty basic thing. If it's got a DVD drive in it, you want to be able to slap a DVD in and play it. And so a Dell computer, and I would expect in other retail stores as well, a computer that ships with Ubuntu would come with codecs pre-installed.
Yeah, one would think that. I mean, it's just like going out and buying a car that has no brakes, So
yeah, exactly.
Exactly. So yeah, I figured I had to throw that one at you because I would think that if you're buying a piece of hardware that has Ubuntu pre-installed on it, they'd have to have all of the drivers and graphics and all the multimedia codecs and everything that you'd need working for you right out of the box. But this will at least focus on people who are do-it-yourselfers, because essentially Linux is a do-it-yourself operating system for the most part. And basically, we're just going to cover a lot of things, that everyday people would want to know. Now, I assume for legal reasons, Ubuntu can't install the necessary codecs and that sort of thing.
So we can't. What we can't do is distribute stuff that's restricted on the CD. But when you're selling a computer, the computer can ship with those things so long as the necessary licenses are paid and the necessary paperwork is done. And that happens when you buy a Dell laptop. The licenses are paid, and you get the codecs, and it's all legal. Wherever you buy it, it's all been checked and all the paperwork has been done. But for a CD, we just can't do that. Or for a free CD, we can't do that.
And that makes a lot of sense. Lectro, we haven't heard from you yet. How you doing?
All right, I was just about to say, so does that include, like, if you get a computer from, like, System 76, they'll have all the codecs that you need? It's not just a specific vendor, it's every person that sells a laptop or desktop with Ubuntu pre-installed?
Well, I wouldn't say everyone, because you might buy a laptop from some random vendor on eBay, and I have no idea what they do. But I certainly know Dell do. I don't know about System 76. I've never bought a System 76 machine, but in theory, it should be possible for them to install the necessary codecs, and it will be licensed, and them be able to play DVD on those machines, no problem at all.
And interestingly enough, when I was going through the wiki, it appears that they've made it easier to be able to install those codecs without actually having to add a PPA to the system, which is a nice touch, I think.
Yeah, there's actually just a tick box during the installer, and in fact, that tick box is quite powerful. When you're installing Ubuntu, there's a on one of the first screens of the Ubiquiti installer, there's a tick box that says, "I want to install non-free stuff, including codecs and whatnot." And that actually installs loads of stuff, not just codecs, but actually, if you're running on a machine that's got an NVIDIA video card, it's that tick box that will install the binary NVIDIA video driver as well. So what you're saying with that tick box is, some would argue what you're saying with that tick box is, I hate freedom. But arguably what you're saying is, I want my machine to work, is what that tick box means.
And I'd have to agree with you. And I'm one of those people, I really don't follow everything that Richard Stallman says, I mean, if I were to do that, I wouldn't have everything, functioning 100% on the machine, and I probably wouldn't be as happy of a camper, as I am today. I mean, I want, and like any other user that is out there, I want a machine that's going to work, and if that means I have to use proprietary software, I will, and as a Windows user, I've used Windows for many years. I spent a fortune on my software, and you know what? I've got it working natively under Wine. People can throw stones at me if they wish, but the thing is, I'm using software that I love to use, and I'm going to continue to use it. And I mean, yes, the software may be old and outdated, but it gets the job done. And so I'm going to continue using it. And the thing is, this software won't even run on the new Windows 8, And some of the software that I have won't even run on Windows 7, but it runs beautifully under Wine, so I can't complain. And the thing is, part of this series is going to include Wine. I'm going to show you how to get those Windows applications and some of your games working natively, or semi-natively, and you may even find a performance boost there as well.
Yeah, I think Wine has certainly got a place on the desktop, given there's so much software out there, esoteric, wacky software that hasn't been ported to Linux, and nobody is particularly interested in porting to Linux, then it makes sense for you to use whatever means, whether that's a VM or Wine or DOSBox or whatever. I think that's appropriate on a desktop to allow people to use the software that they want to use.
Now, I have to ask you, Mr. Pope, what do you think about what Valve is doing, bringing Steam over to Ubuntu?
It's amazing. It's brilliant. Awesome. Totally brilliant.
I'll tell you what, as soon as they have it ready, I've already got my credit card ready. I'm going to download some of my favorite games from Steam. I cannot wait for this. I think this is wonderful what they're doing for the community here. And I mean, I'm not the biggest gamer in the world. Yeah, when I first got into computers many moons ago, I loved the graphics, I loved the games. Now I'm more into multimedia and that sort of thing. But every now and then it's nice just to be able to turn on the machine and curl up to a good story-driven game. So yeah, and I think this is amazing. Every day that I go on to Ubuntu Vibes, I see that there are more and more games being ported to Linux. So now people can't use that as an excuse anymore that Linux doesn't do gaming, because we're just getting tons and tons and tons of gaming. And if you don't believe me, download the latest Play on Linux and look at all the games it supports now. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I think before we start recording QUIDSUP was mentioning the Humble Bundle. That even that shows there's appetite for games on Linux.
Yeah, go ahead, QUIDSUP. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I was going to say that we're seeing more games now in the Ubuntu Software Center, and I've actually done that with the Humble Bundle now a couple of times, and it was so easy to use. You get the link from Humble Bundle, and you click on it, and it goes straight across the Ubuntu Software Center. Bang, you're downloaded. Could be easier, and it's good seeing more games are coming into Linux. And I think in a way what we're seeing there is the long climb up the hill of getting Linux more and more popular. I think it's in the end, or the peak of the hill, more in sight now, because more gaming companies are interested. So more people put software on the platform because they know the audience is there.
Now,
Completely agree.
Now, QUIDSUP, I have to ask you, when you did click on the indie bundles, did it allow you to choose your price to download those games, or was there a set price on that in the Ubuntu Software Center?
Well, you pay for it via the Humble Bundle website, so you choose your own price. And then when you click on the link, it registers it against your Ubuntu One account and just says you paid for it.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, now I just went ahead and I installed the Ubuntu Software Center in Linux Mint because I really don't care for the Mint Software Center, but I haven't had a chance to set up an account so that I can go and start purchasing games, because I'm just seeing all these games coming and I want to try a few of them out. And so I figured I probably need to have the Ubuntu Software Center set up an account for that. And so I'll play with that later, and maybe I'll have to get back with you guys and let you know how that worked out for me.
So I had the same kind of experience. I went to the Humble Bundle when I saw that it was available, and I just bought it straight away because I buy every Humble Bundle. And it surprised me the first time it happened. It's happened twice now that when you buy the bundle, you get the link. And it takes you to a special page, Ubuntu themed page, where you just press a button to install and Software Center does the magic. But the really nice thing is, if you keep that link, which you get emailed by the Humble Bundle people, if you keep that link on any computer in the future, if I ditch this PC I'm using and start with a new PC, all I've got to do is go to that link and click the buttons, and I can re-download all those games on my next PC, much the same way as you do with Steam. The games are all in the cloud, and then you pull them down onto whichever new PC you buy. And I think it's a very useful feature that I don't have to. I mean, I can download the deb files and squirrel them away, and I'm a kind of hoarder, so I do tend to do that, and I will squirrel them away somewhere. But I never actually use those to install. I'll just go to the link and click the buttons and let Software Center do it all for me.
It's funny you mention that, Alan, because I do the same exact thing. I actually have a specific hard drive where I hoard all of my, installations and, installer packages and that sort of thing. And, but I think it's a wonderful idea in that, you have the freedom to install this on them, and you can install this on as many computers as you want to as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, and that mentality of hoarding software has come about because I've seen services disappear. There have been online cloud-based, or years gone by, they weren't called cloud-based, but internet-based services that you might use, and you keep your data in that cloud, and that service shuts down for whatever reason. They run out of money, or it gets sold to another company, and that service disappears, and you've lost that data, or you've lost that content. And so it makes sense to download the stuff and keep a copy locally, just in case you lose access to that thing. If their web service ever goes down or they shut down, you may no longer have access to the data or programs. So it just makes sense to me to keep a copy locally.
Yeah, and I'll give you a good example of this too. I have a program for making all of my icons. It's a Windows program that I run in Wine called Ico Effects, and I was doing a demonstration on how to install this in Wine. And somebody says, well, this is not a freeware program anymore. And see, by hoarding this one program away, I've got the freeware version of it. Of course, I don't have the latest version, that people have to pay for now. But, I still have an archived copy that still works. So, yeah, it's a great idea to hoard software away. You never know when you're going to need it again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Electro.
So does that mean when you download the Humble Bundle and you get a link, that link is specific to your username and password? So you can't exactly share it with someone else and they can use that link to download it for free?
Correct.
So when you click on that link and it goes to the Ubuntu, it'll require you to sign in with that username and password?
I think so. I'm starting to wonder, but yeah, it's like it's got this giant key in the URL that's unique to you and unique to your account. And when you click the buttons on the page, it opens Software Center, and then you get a button that says buy. And even though it says buy and the price is listed, it's actually free because the back end knows that you bought this through the Humble Bundle. And when you click buy, if you've not signed into Ubuntu One yet, then the Software Center will ask you to log on to Ubuntu One. So it validates that, you really have bought the game.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I don't know if it ties up the email address you had on the Humble Bundle with the email address you had in Ubuntu. I don't know how that works, but it works.
Well, I'm going to find out because you know what? I never signed up for an Ubuntu One account. Am I a bad Linux user or what? But I'm actually going to sit down on my next day off, and I'm actually going to play with that because there are some software titles that I want to have a look at that I'm going to have to shell out a few coins for, and I don't mind shelling out a few coins to have a good game, especially something that's going to give me plenty of hours of enjoyment.
Especially if it works straight out of the box.
What's also worth doing is, if you're going to sign up for Ubuntu One, is actually record a screencast of you signing up to Ubuntu One as a tutorial and, talk about what the benefits of Ubuntu One are, the music streaming and the file storage and the notes synchronization and all that kind of stuff, plus the integration with the Software Center so that you can, buy games very easily with one click, and talk about all of that and then demonstrate, buying a game perhaps.
Yeah, and that is definitely something because, I really want this series to be as comprehensive as I can make it. So, yes, I would definitely be doing that.
I might have to use that idea as well.
Yeah, and that could be something that you could do as well on your show, QUIDSUP.
Yeah, we'll do, yeah. Because I bought quite a few games on there now, so, yeah, no problem.
So I
Sorry.
I was going to say, I take it when you sign into Ubuntu One as well, it also turns on recommendations in the Ubuntu Software Center.
Yes, it does. And also means you can use the music store in Rhythmbox as well.
It's funny. I never really got into those music managing softwares and that sort of thing because, I don't know. I like the KISS principle. Keep it simple, stupid. I actually have playlists for everything, and I just run them through Totem or GNOME MPlayer to play all of my music files and that sort of thing. So this is going to be quite a bit of an experience for me as well, because now I'm actually going to be learning how to use these music and multimedia software so I can demonstrate them.
Yeah, and also see what the benefits are. The fact that you can buy music through the Ubuntu One Music Store built into Rhythmbox, and when you buy a song, it automatically downloads to all of your computers, not just the one you currently sat at.
Interesting. Now, Riley wanted to mention that he likes to hoard everything as well on his computer. He doesn't trust cloud computing, and I'm a little foggy in that area as well. You know, having personal data stored on somebody else's computers and that sort of thing. But I'd like to think that cloud computing nowadays does give you some level of privacy.
Well, some of the cloud providers have come under some fire for, not being as secure as they could be, and making it possible for their members of staff to get access to data which you would hope would be safe. But I know some people encrypt data before they even put it in their shared folders, so that they know that whatever the members of staff, the sysadmins at the cloud company can get to, all they would end up getting to is your encrypted data, and not your loved ones' phone numbers and birth dates and all your bank details or anything like that.
Or just even storing your data in a password-protected tarball would do the trick as well.
So I use I don't mind telling people that I have a text file that has all my passwords in it, and that text file is encrypted with GPG, and I use a text editor called Vim. And Vim has a plugin that will automatically decrypt that file for me when it opens it. And then if I make any changes when it saves it, it will re-encrypt the file before it saves it back to disk. And I store that in the cloud. And I'm pretty confident storing that encrypted file that's got all the passwords for everything, including my online banking. I'm pretty confident that I'm safe storing that file in the cloud.
Lectro.
Best way to check if it's encrypted, say you're using something like Dropbox. Use like a mobile app like on Android and see if you can view it on a different device.
Yeah, now Dropbox is interesting because Dropbox don't encrypt the data, because they do deduplication to ensure that they're not storing the same file twice. They don't encrypt the data on their servers. So, in theory, their staff, and this came out in a recent news article, their staff could look at files on their back-end servers.
But didn't Dropbox state clearly on the website as a feature that they all use 256-bit encryption?
That's the encryption for the data transfer between you and Dropbox, but it's not encrypted when the files are actually stored on disk on their servers.
Yeah, so it definitely makes sense to encrypt your data before transferring it up to the cloud. I'd say that's a sound idea. Electro, it sounds like with all those sirens in the background, are they coming to get you? Are they coming to take you away?
Not quite. But I have a problem with the encryption side of it. You might, if you encrypt your data, you can only really view that data on the computer that you encrypt it on. If it's a computer, say I've got some pictures or whatever that I don't want people at Dropbox seeing, so I encrypt it. If I want to view that image on, say an iPhone, an iPad, or an Android phone, I can't view it because it comes up as an encrypted file or an unrecognizable file format. The only way I can view it is by going onto the computer or whichever that I encrypted it on.
Yeah, there's certainly limitations, and it would be great if all of these cloud file storage systems had, encryption built in. I know some of them do. SpiderOak is a notable one that actually they encrypt all the data both on your computer before it gets sent to the server, and the content that's actually on their servers is all encrypted as well. And that client works on every Windows, Mac, Linux, Android, and iOS.
Maybe others should take a leaf out of their book then.
Now,
yeah, absolutely.
Now, PDQ on IRC did state that you can decrypt your files in Mac, Windows, and Linux, even Android as well, but you'd have to have the necessary applications for doing those decryptions so that you could view them.
Yeah, and the one I use is, I only have one file that's encrypted, which is my list of passwords, and because I use Vim, and there is a copy of Vim for basically every single platform on the planet, I'm pretty good there.
Now, I have a file where I keep all of my passwords and everything, but I have that file backed up on an external hard drive as well as another backup on a flash drive. So, I mean, you know, I like to store all critical sensitive data like that. I like to store locally rather than having that up in the cloud. But for the most part, most of the things that I do on the computer, if I were to store things up in the cloud and that sort of thing, I wouldn't mind if people are looking at it because I'm not doing anything objectionable on the computer at all. So.
Yeah.
And I have a friend who prints out his password list and keeps it in his pocket. And he's pretty confident that that's as secure, if not more secure, than a copy of his passwords in the cloud somewhere.
Speaking of passwords, wouldn't you just use something like KeePass if it's a text-based document with all your username and password? Why don't you just use something like KeePass or something that's on all devices, on all platforms, and it's designed for that reason of storing your passwords and stuff online?
So personally, I like KeePass is quite good, but I quite like just having a plain text file that I can annotate very easily and I can search very quickly, and I don't have to have any dependencies to install because Vim is on every machine that I own. So KeePass is great, and there are others as well. One that I can't remember the name of, but there are lots of these kind of options, but that's just the one I happen to have chosen.
And I happen to like the GUI text editor. Kate for the win.
Are we going to start text editor wars in this podcast then?
well, guys, go ahead, Electro.
I was going to say everyone prefers Vim, but I prefer Nano to Vim, really. I just haven't really got my head around Vim.
Yeah, Nano, definitely.
Me too. I prefer Nano to Vim, and actually I use Nano more than Vim. The only reason I use Vim is because Vim has this GPG plugin that does the automatic decryption encryption of files.
All right, well, gang, this has been an invigorating conversation. Yeah, I can't tell you, I am really excited about getting this series on the Ubuntu LTS off the ground. There is so much material that I want to cover, and I want to thank you. I want to thank all of you, Electro, Alan, Pope, and QUIDSUP for giving me some good ideas on some things that I can have a look at. I've been sitting down taking notes during our conversation. Say, Alan, before we go, any other key points you think I should cover in this how-to series?
Everything.
Well, that's what it's funny because I actually have the Ubuntu wiki. I did a search online for the Ubuntu guide. It took me to the Precise Pangolin wiki, and I really love how it's laid out. But the thing is, it has a lot of terminal commands it wants me to use, and you've just given me the challenge to avoid the terminal. So, how am I going to do this? You know what I think I'm going to do? I think I'm going to show you two ways of doing it. For those of you who want to get your hands dirty in the terminal, this is how you do it in the terminal. And for those of you who don't ever want to see a command prompt, this is how you do it graphically. I think that's the best way we can do it, and that way we can have our cake and eat it too.
Yeah, and you don't have to be precious about absolutely never showing the command line. I mean, sometimes it's beneficial to show or to compare a graphical way of doing something with the old school command line way of doing something. I think it's just it's an interesting challenge to try and do it without showing the command line at all, and see if it's possible. And that someone said to me a little while ago, if with Ubuntu, and I think it was kind of a joke, but it's something that rings true with me, which is if you have to drop to the command line, it's a bug. If you have to revert to opening a terminal in order to achieve something on Ubuntu, then it's a bug and it should be fixed.
Now, Riley had a comment that he wanted to make, and he stated that if you do not ever want to see a command prompt, you shouldn't be using Linux. But let's face it, folks, Linux has become easier and easier to use, and even Alan has told me that he has family members that are using Linux, that are using Ubuntu specifically, that have never seen a command line, and they're able to get a lot out of this operating system. So using a command line really is not a necessity nowadays.
You know, my kids actually, my son is 6 and my daughter's 9, and they both are they've both got Ubuntu on their laptops, and we all sometimes play Minecraft. And I've set up their laptops so they've got an icon in the launcher, so they just click the icon and Minecraft starts. But I never got around to setting that launcher icon up for myself. So in order to start Minecraft on my own machine, I open a terminal and I cd to the directory where Minecraft is located, and I type java --jar space minecraft.jar and press enter. And sometimes my kids actually are looking at me when I do this, and they're like, "Dad, why are you doing that? Why are you typing that stuff? Why don't you just click the icon?" And even my kids realize the days of the command line are dead.
Yeah, well, the thing is, it's funny you mention that because I have Minecraft as well, and when I first started playing Minecraft, I was actually typing the jar commands to launch it. Now I even have the icon set up to where all I have to do is click the icon and the game launches.
Yeah, I should get round to that at some point.
I have to ask, though, and I'm just dying to know, do the kids have Sugar on their desktop?
Sugar?
Yeah, that's, they have a desktop for Linux called Sugar that has all these kids' activities and that sort of thing.
Oh, the thing that originated on the one laptop per child?
Yes.
No, they don't, actually. They have Unity 2D on their laptops on Ubuntu 12.04, and they have a bunch of icons down the side which are, kid-based stuff. They also have LibreOffice because they like pretending to write letters, and they write documents and stuff in LibreOffice. But they have mostly games and Minecraft and a couple of other bits and bobs, and Chrome as their web browser. But no, they've not tried Sugar yet.
All right, I was just curious about that, because, some of the activities in Sugar are quite ridiculous, but hey, for a 4 or 5-year-old, I mean, they can be a lot of fun for the kids, I suppose.
Yeah, it's amazing how much fun they can find on, rummaging around in the in the icons and suddenly stab something randomly and start playing with it.
And another added plus for the kids, though, is, you can give them an edge in school because, I mean, there are so many applications in the Ubuntu repositories, that can help the kids with their math, their reading skills, and all that stuff. I had a friend of mine that used to stay here who's an educator, and he does home tutoring, and we actually downloaded a bunch of applications from the Ubuntu Software Center so that he could tutor this girl. And I was just amazed at all the software that is available for educating children, and all of it is free.
Yeah, and even the stuff that's like designed for Windows. There's a friend of mine who's got a netbook she bought for her daughter, and she wanted Ubuntu on it, and so I put Ubuntu on there for her. And she said that her daughter was dyslexic, and there was some software that she knew of that was good for children with dyslexia. And I went to their website, and it's Windows only, so I phoned them up and said, do you know if your software works on Linux? And they said, "Oh no, I've never been asked that question. I don't know." He said there's a trial you can download and try it out. So I downloaded the trial. Turns out it's all Flash-based, and it works perfectly fine on Linux. So I installed the full version on her Linux laptop, and it works fine. And I gave them feedback to say, hey, you might want to tell people that actually your software works fine on Linux as well, because, why not?
Absolutely, and the best way, and there's so many different Windows applications that are out there that are working, especially if they're Flash-based. Yes, we know they're going to work very well, and if you are able to get any of your favorite Windows applications or games running using the Wine compatibility layer, I couldn't get that out. Definitely visit winehq.com and tell them how you got it working to help other people out with that. Well, once again, everybody, thank you for an invigorating conversation. Lectro, thank you for joining us. Thank you, Alan Pope, for being on our show again. It's always a joy having you with us. And thank you, QUIDSUP, for joining us as well. And for those of you who really want to get the best out of customizing your Ubuntu installation, definitely check out QUIDSUP's show. He's got a really good show. And if you dig around around in some of his videos and stuff, you might even see something real funny. He even has a video up where he's phone scamming one of these guys, telling him about a virus on his computer or something like that. That one was classic, QUIDSUP.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, that was such a good laugh, that video.
I was impressed you managed to get to the computer in time and hold him on the phone and start recording at the same time.
Yeah, and he must have had the guy on the phone, what, about a half hour or something like that?
Yeah, it was half an hour in the end.
Yeah, and then at the end of the call, well, guess what? You've just been spoofed. I'm running a Linux. Yeah, I thought that was kind of cool. All right, thank you, all of you, once again, and thanks for everybody in the listening room, and thank you, everybody who participated with us on IRC, and thanks to everybody on YouTube who's also watching this, and everybody that's out there on the internet catching the stream off of DistroWatch. We'll see you next week, same time, same channel. Ciao.
Today's show was brought to you by the Linux Distro Community. Visit us today at linuxdistrocommunity.com and chat with us on Mumble or in IRC on the Freenode network in the Linux Distro Community channel. The Linux Distro Community. Freedom through the sharing of knowledge.